Chapter 5. Maya paced the confines of Kai's cabin like a caged animal, her anxiety growing with each passing hour. Through the bedroom doorway, she could see him lying motionless on the bed, his chest rising and falling in the steady rhythm of deep sleep. The wounds from his fight with Damon were healing, but slowly, much more slowly than they should have been for an alpha. The wolfsbane will work its way out of his system, Marcus had assured her when he'd brought dinner an hour ago. He just needs rest. Wolfsbane. Maya had never heard the term before today, but she'd learned it was a plant toxic to werewolves, used in small doses for medicine, deadly in larger amounts. Damon had somehow managed to coat his claws with it during their fight, ensuring that Kai's wounds would heal slowly and keep him weakened. Maya touched the mark on her forehead, feeling the strange double pulse that had become familiar, her own heartbeat, and underneath it, Kai's. Even unconscious, their bond remained strong. Too strong for comfort. She needed answers, and she needed them before Kai woke up and started giving her more half-truths and carefully worded explanations. Oracle bloodline. Moon magic. A great-great-grandmother named Elena Moonshadow who could control the phases of the moon itself. It all sounded like something out of a fantasy novel, but Maya couldn't deny what she'd felt when Damon had spoken those names, the flood of inherited memories, the sense of recognition that went bone deep. Maya stopped pacing and looked around the cabin with new eyes. She'd been here for 2 days, but she'd never really explored. There had to be something, books, journals, records, that could tell her more about the werewolf world she'd been dragged into. The main room yielded nothing but survival gear and basic furniture. The kitchen was similarly sparse. But when Maya opened the closet in the bedroom, being careful not to wake Kai, she found more than just clothes. Behind a row of flannel shirts and heavy coats, a small wooden box sat on the closet's top shelf. Maya pulled it down carefully, her heart hammering as she carried it to the living room. The box was beautiful, carved from what looked like cherry wood, with intricate Celtic knotwork covering the lid. When Maya opened it, the scent of lavender and something wild and green wafted up. Inside, wrapped in silk, was a leather journal. Maya lifted it out with trembling hands. The cover was soft brown leather, worn smooth by years of handling. No name marked the front, but when she opened it, the first page contained an inscription in flowing script. Luna Martinez, my thoughts, my hopes, my fears. May whoever reads this understand that love is both our greatest strength and our most dangerous weakness, *. Maya's breath caught. Luna. Kai's previous mate, the one who had supposedly died during transformation. The woman whose death haunted him, whose ghost seemed to stand between them even now. Maya glanced toward the bedroom, ensuring Kai was still asleep, then settled onto the couch and began to read. Day 1 after marking *. The bond is stronger than I expected. I can feel Kai even when he's miles away, can sense his moods, his thoughts sometimes. It should be comforting, but instead it feels overwhelming. Like losing myself piece by piece. *. Maya's chest tightened. She knew exactly what Luna had meant. The constant awareness of Kai's presence, the way her emotions seemed tangled up with his, it was intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. Day 5 *. The transformation dreams are getting more intense. I see myself changing, becoming something powerful and wild. But there's something else in the dreams, something that watches from the shadows. Kai says it's normal, that all new mates experience prophetic dreams. But these don't feel like prophecies. They feel like warnings. *. Maya flipped through several pages of similar entries, Luna's growing unease, her sense that something was wrong with her transformation process. Then she found an entry that made her blood run cold. Day 12 *. I confronted Marcus today about the strange looks, the whispered conversations that stop when I enter a room. He finally told me the truth. My bloodline isn't what Kai led me to believe. My grandmother wasn't just a powerful werewolf, she was an oracle. The last one, until now. *. Marcus said there are pack members who remember the stories about oracles. How they could see the future, control lunar magic, shift the balance of power between territories. How they were feared as much as revered. He said some of the pack are worried about what I might become. About whether Kai can control that kind of power once it awakens. Maya's hands shook as she turned the page. Oracle bloodline. Just like her. But Luna's grandmother, not her great-great-grandmother. Which meant. Day 18 *. I've been researching the Oracle bloodlines, and I've made a disturbing discovery. My grandmother Elena Martinez was not the last Oracle. She had a sister, Elena Moonshadow, who fled to the human world in the 1920s. Elena Moonshadow had a daughter who married a human man named Chen *. Chen. Maya Chen *. If my research is correct, there's another Oracle descendant out there. A girl who would be about 18 now, living as a human with no knowledge of her heritage. Marcus thinks we should find her, protect her. But others in the pack, Others think she should stay hidden. Or be eliminated before she becomes a threat, Maya's vision blurred. Her grandmother. Her grandmother had been Elena Moonshadow's daughter. Which meant Maya wasn't just descended from Oracle bloodline, she was direct lineage. Pure bloodline, undiluted by generations of human breeding. She flipped frantically through more pages, looking for more information about her family. What she found instead made her heart stop. Day 25 *. I know someone is planning to kill me. The transformation is scheduled for tomorrow night, but I've overheard enough whispered conversations to know I'm not expected to survive it. They're going to make it look like an accident, like Kai lost control of his alpha power and overwhelmed my system. But it won't be an accident. Someone in this pack wants me dead. Someone who knows what I am, what I could become. Someone who's afraid of Oracle power returning to the werewolf world. If something happens to me, if I don't survive tomorrow, then Maya Chen is the world's only hope. She needs to be found, protected, trained. She needs to know what she is before they find her too. And she needs to know that Kai isn't her enemy. Whatever his faults, whatever mistakes he's made, he would never hurt his mate. The real danger comes from those who smile to his face and plot in the shadows. Maya's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the journal. Luna hadn't died from a botched transformation. She'd been murdered. By someone in the pack. Someone who was still here, still trusted, still close enough to Kai to have access to him during his vulnerable moments. She flipped to the journal's final entry, dated the day before Luna's death. Day 26 *. I've figured out who's been working against me, but it's too late to do anything about it. The transformation ceremony is tonight, and I can't postpone it without arousing suspicion. All I can do is write this and hope that someday, someone will piece together the truth. Marcus has been feeding information to the Eastern Pack for months. He's the one who told them about my bloodline, the one who convinced certain pack members that Oracle power is too dangerous to allow. He's been playing both sides, loyal beta to Kai, secret ally to Damon Redclaw. If Maya Chen is ever found, if she ever comes to the Northern Pack seeking help, Marcus will betray her too. The Eastern Pack wants Oracle power under their control, not eliminated entirely. They'll use Marcus to deliver her to them. Kai doesn't know. Kai trusts Marcus with his life, with the safety of the pack. That trust will be Maya's downfall unless someone warns her. If you're reading this, Maya, then I'm already dead. Don't trust Marcus. Don't trust anyone who was part of my transformation ceremony. And whatever you do, don't let them separate you from Kai. Whatever his faults, he's the only one who can protect you from what's coming. The Oracle bloodline is both gift and curse. Use it wisely. Maya closed the journal and sat in stunned silence. Marcus. The friendly beta who had welcomed her to the pack, who had explained about lunar bloodlines and made her feel less alone. The man who had just brought her dinner and assured her that Kai would recover from his wounds. The man who was working for Damon Redclaw. A sound from the bedroom made Maya freeze. Kai was stirring, his voice groggy as he called her name. Maya quickly rewrapped the journal and placed it back in the box, shoving the whole thing under the couch just as Kai appeared in the doorway. He looked terrible, pale, with dark circles under his golden eyes and a fine sheen of sweat on his skin. The wounds on his throat and chest were still angry red lines, healing far too slowly. "How long was I out?" he asked, leaning heavily against the doorframe. 6 hours. Marcus said the wolfsbane would work its way out of your system soon. Maya studied his face, looking for any sign that he knew about Marcus's betrayal. She saw nothing but exhaustion and pain. "Maya, about what Damon said. You knew." The accusation came out sharper than she'd intended. "You knew about my bloodline. About what I am." Kai closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded. "I suspected. After the marking ceremony, when you adapted so quickly to the bond, I had Marcus research your family history." "Marcus." Maya tasted bitterness. "And what did Marcus find?" "That your great-great-grandmother was Elena Moonshadow. That you were likely carrying dormant oracle genes." Kai moved slowly into the room, settling heavily onto the chair across from her. "Maya, I need you to understand." "Understand what?" "That you've been lying to me from the beginning? That I was never safe here, never free to make my own choices?" Maya's voice rose with each word. "That you marked me not to save me but to control me?" "No." Kai's voice was fierce despite his weakness. "I marked you to protect you." "From what?" "From Damon. From the Eastern Pack. From anyone who would use your power for their own ends." Kai leaned forward, his golden eyes blazing. "Maya, do you have any idea what you are? What you could become?" The last oracle could control the phases of the moon. She could see the future, predict pack wars, shift the balance of power across entire continents. That kind of ability makes me a target. Makes you the most valuable person in the werewolf world. And the most dangerous. Kai ran a hand through his hair. "I knew that if your bloodline was real, if your abilities awakened, every alpha in North America would try to claim you. I marked you first to keep you safe." "Safe, or controlled?" "Both," Kai admitted. "I won't lie to you about that. But Maya, everything I've done, every choice I've made, has been about protecting you. Even if you hate me for it." Maya stared at him, torn between the growing feelings she couldn't deny and the bitter taste of manipulation. Part of her wanted to believe him, wanted to trust the pain she saw in his eyes. But Luna's words echoed in her mind, "Don't trust anyone who was part of my transformation ceremony." "Who else knew?" she asked quietly. "About my bloodline." "Marcus. Sarah. A few of the council members." Kai frowned. "Why?" "Because someone in your pack killed Luna." Maya watched his face carefully as she spoke. "She didn't die from a botched transformation. She was murdered by someone who was afraid of oracle power." Kai went very still. "That's impossible." "Is it? Think about it, Kai. An experienced alpha like you, losing control of a simple transformation? Luna was powerful, she was compatible, she should have survived easily." Maya pulled out the journal and set it on the coffee table between them. She knew someone was planning to kill her. She wrote it all down. Kai stared at the journal like it was a snake. "Where did you find that?" "Hidden in your closet. She left it for whoever came after her." "For me." Maya opened to one of the key passages. "Read it." Kai's hands shook as he took the journal. Maya watched his face change as he read Luna's words, confusion giving way to horror, then to a rage so pure it made the air around him shimmer with heat. "Marcus," he whispered, "has been working for Damon from the beginning. Luna figured it out too late to save herself, but not too late to warn me." Maya touched the mark on her forehead, feeling the familiar pulse of pain. "How long ago did he bring me dinner?" Kai's eyes widened with understanding. "Maya." The cabin door opened, and Marcus walked in without knocking. He was smiling, carrying a steaming mug that smelled like chamomile and honey. How are you feeling, Alpha? He asked, setting the mug on the kitchen counter. I brought you some tea. It should help with the lingering effects of the wolfsbane. Maya felt Kai's rage spike through their bond, but his voice remained carefully neutral. Thank you, Marcus. That's very thoughtful. Just doing my job. Marcus turned to Maya, and for the first time she saw something cold in his brown eyes. Maya, how are you adjusting? Any unusual symptoms? Visions, perhaps? Enhanced abilities? Nothing yet, Maya lied smoothly. Should I be expecting something? Oh, absolutely. Oracle bloodlines are notoriously powerful once they awaken. I'm sure Damon is very eager to see what you're capable of. Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. Speaking of which, he asked me to give you a message. Maya felt Kai tense beside her, but Marcus continued as if nothing had changed. He wanted you to know that his offer still stands. 3 days to make your choice, but the offer stands. And he wanted to assure you that under his protection, you would never have to fear meeting the same fate as poor Luna. The casual mention of Luna's name was like a slap. Maya saw Kai's hands clench into fists, saw the effort it took him to remain still. That's very generous of him, Maya said carefully. Isn't it? Marcus moved toward the kitchen counter, ostensibly to retrieve something from the cabinets. But Maya noticed he positioned himself between them and the door. You know, Maya, there's something I've been meaning to tell you about your bloodline. Something Luna discovered before she died. Oh. Oracle power isn't just about prophecy and moon magic. It's about control. The ability to influence other werewolves, to command their loyalty, even to override an alpha's authority. Marcus's voice took on an edge. Imagine what someone could do with that kind of power. The chaos they could create if they fell into the wrong hands. Is that what you're afraid of? Maya asked. That I might use oracle power to challenge pack hierarchy? I'm afraid that you already are. Marcus turned to face them fully, and Maya saw that his eyes were glowing with that familiar golden light. You've been unconsciously influencing pack members since you arrived. Making them more sympathetic to your situation, more willing to question alpha authority. Even now, you're affecting Kai's judgment. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. That's not possible. Isn't it? Tell me, Maya, how do you think you survived an alpha marking when most humans would die instantly? How do you think you've adapted so quickly to pack life? How do you think you've managed to make Kai question 3 centuries of pack law in less than a week? She looked at Kai, seeing her own uncertainty reflected in his eyes. Was it possible? Had she been unconsciously using abilities she didn't even know she possessed? The oracle bloodline awakens gradually, Marcus continued. First the enhanced senses, then the emotional influence, then the prophetic visions. The final stage is conscious control over lunar magic and direct command over other werewolves. Luna reached the 3rd stage before she died. Before you killed her, Kai said quietly. Marcus's smile never wavered. Before she became too dangerous to live. Just as Maya is becoming too dangerous now. Maya saw Kai try to stand and immediately collapse back into his chair. The realization hit her like a physical blow. The tea, she breathed. You put wolfsbane in the tea. A much higher dose than what Damon used on his claws. Enough to keep our alpha unconscious while I deal with his problematic mate. Marcus pulled a silver knife from his jacket. The blade gleamed with the same oily sheen Maya remembered from Damon's claws. Don't worry, Kai. I'll make it look like an accident. Just like Luna. Kai tried again to rise, his face gray with effort and pain. But the wolfsbane was already working its way through his system. Within minutes, he would be completely helpless. Maya felt something shift inside her, a door opening, power flooding through channels she'd never known existed. The mark on her forehead blazed with sudden heat, and the world around her seemed to slow and sharpen. She could sense Marcus's heartbeat, could smell his fear underneath the determination. She could feel the loyalty bonds that connected him to other pack members, could see the threads of influence that Damon had woven around him over months of careful manipulation. And she could feel her own power growing, awakening, responding to the threat against her mate. "You made one mistake, Marcus," Maya said, standing slowly. Her voice carried an authority she'd never possessed before. "You assumed I was still the helpless human you've been manipulating." Marcus raised the knife, but his hand was trembling. "Oracle power doesn't work on other werewolves who know what you are." "You're right," Maya agreed. "It doesn't work on werewolves." She smiled, and for the first time in her life, Maya felt the predator that lived in her bloodline. Not werewolf, something older, more primal. Something that had commanded the loyalty of wolves long before humans learned to fear the dark. "But you're forgetting something important, Marcus. I'm not just Oracle bloodline." The power built inside her like a gathering storm, and Maya finally understood what Elena Moonshadow had been running from all those years ago. Not the responsibility, not the politics, not even the danger. The temptation. "I'm the descendant of the first alpha female. The one who mated with the moon itself." Maya's eyes began to glow, but not with werewolf gold. With silver light that seemed to come from within. "And that makes me something you can't fight, can't kill, and definitely can't control." Marcus dropped the knife and ran. Chapter 6. The moment Marcus fled, Maya felt the power inside her crystallize into something solid and real. It was like discovering a limb she'd never known she possessed, foreign yet utterly familiar, dangerous yet absolutely hers. The mark on her forehead blazed with silver light, and she could feel the ancient bloodlines singing in her veins. Kai was dying. The knowledge hit her with absolute certainty. The wolfsbane Marcus had given him wasn't just a sedative, it was a lethal dose, designed to look like delayed effects from Damon's claws. Already, Kai's breathing was becoming labored, his skin taking on a grayish pallor that spoke of organs beginning to shut down. Maya knelt beside his chair, her hands hovering over his chest. She could see the poison in his bloodstream like dark threads weaving through his body, could feel the way it attacked his supernatural healing, turning his own regenerative abilities against him. "I don't know what I'm doing," she whispered. Kai's eyes fluttered open, unfocused but determined. "Trust your instincts. Oracle power comes from the moon. From the first magic." Maya pressed her palms flat against Kai's chest and closed her eyes. The power inside her responded immediately, flowing down her arms like liquid starlight. She felt it enter his body, seeking out the poison, wrapping around it like silver threads around black ones. The vision hit her without warning. She was standing in a moonlit forest, but not the one outside Kai's cabin. This forest was older, wilder, filled with trees that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. A woman with silver hair and glowing eyes stood before her, Elena Moonshadow, but not as Maya had seen her in inherited memories. This Elena was younger, more powerful, crowned with an aura of lunar magic that made the air shimmer. "Child of my blood," Elena said, her voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "The time of hiding is over. Your mate is dying, and only Oracle power can save him. I don't know how. You know. You've always known. The moon's children heal with light, not darkness. Find the poison and burn it away. Maya's eyes snapped open. She could feel the wolfsbane-like poison ink spreading through Kai's system, but now she could also feel the way her power could combat it. She pressed deeper, her hands growing warm as silver light poured from her palms into his chest. "Burn," she whispered, and the power obeyed. Light flared between her hands, so bright it hurt to look at directly. Maya felt the wolfsbane dissolving under the assault of pure lunar magic, felt Kai's supernatural healing kick back into overdrive as the toxin was purged from his system. When the light faded, Kai was breathing normally. Color had returned to his skin, and his wounds were healing at their proper accelerated rate. But Maya felt drained, as if she'd run a marathon. "How did you do that?" Kai asked, sitting up slowly. "I don't know. I could see what was wrong and how to fix it." Maya slumped against the couch, exhaustion making her dizzy. Is this what oracle power feels like? From what the old stories say, yes. Kai reached out and touched her face gently. Maya, what you just did, healing magic of that level hasn't been seen in over a century. Even Elena herself. The cabin door burst open. Marcus stood there with 3 other pack members Maya recognized, Sarah, an older man named Robert, and a younger woman called Jessica. All of them had weapons drawn. Step away from him, Maya, Sarah said, her kind eyes now hard as stone. This has gone far enough. Maya felt Kai tense beside her, felt his rage spike through their bond. But she also felt something else, the other pack members' emotions, their thoughts, their loyalties laid bare before her awakened senses. Sarah's mind was a tangle of genuine care for Maya mixed with deep fear of what she might become. Robert radiated cold calculation. He saw Maya as a problem to be solved, nothing more. Jessica was conflicted, torn between pack loyalty and her own moral uncertainty. And Marcus? Marcus's thoughts were completely shielded from her, as if he'd learned to defend against oracle intrusion. Sarah, Kai said quietly, you need to know the truth. Marcus poisoned me. He's been working with Damon Redclaw for months. We know, Sarah replied, never taking her eyes off Maya. Marcus told us everything. How Maya's been using oracle power to influence you, to turn you against your own pack. How she's been manipulating pack members to question your leadership. That's not true, Maya protested. Isn't it? Robert stepped forward, a silver knife gleaming in his weathered hands. Explain how you've managed to adapt so quickly to pack life. Explain how you've made half the pack sympathetic to your situation when they should see you as a threat. Explain how you've convinced our alpha to violate centuries of pack law for a human. Maya opened her mouth to deny it, then stopped. Because part of what he was saying was true. She had been unconsciously influencing people, not through deliberate manipulation, but through the natural emanation of oracle power. Every conversation, every interaction, she'd been subtly affecting the emotions and loyalties of everyone around her. Including Kai. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Had any of his feelings for her been real? Or had she been accidentally compelling his attraction from the moment they met? I didn't mean to, she whispered. The road to hell, Marcus said from the doorway, is paved with good intentions. Just like it was with Luna. Maya's head snapped up. You killed Luna. We killed Luna, Marcus corrected, gesturing to the others. All of us who remembered what the last Oracle War cost our people. All of us who understood that some powers are too dangerous to be allowed to awaken. Oracle War? Maya felt another vision building at the edge of her consciousness. You don't know? Sarah's laugh was bitter. Of course you don't. Your precious grandmother made sure of that when she fled to the human world. The vision slammed into Maya with the force of a tidal wave. She was standing on a battlefield littered with werewolf corpses. The moon above was blood red, pulsing with unnatural light. In the center of the carnage stood 2 figures, Elena Moonshadow and another woman with similar features but darker hair, asterisk. Sister, please, Elena begged. This has to stop. The packs are tearing each other apart. Asterisk. Let them, the other woman snarled. Her eyes blazed with silver fire, and when she gestured, the very ground beneath the dead werewolves cracked and split. They chose their sides. They chose to fear us instead of respect us. Now they'll learn the price of that choice. Asterisk. Lydia, you're killing innocent people, asterisk. There are no innocent people in a war, Elena. Only winners and losers. Lydia raised her hands toward the blood moon, and Maya felt power gathering, terrible, world-shaking power. The werewolf world will bow to oracle rule, or it will burn. Asterisk. Elena lunged forward, silver light blazing from her own hands. The 2 sisters collided in a blast of magical energy that shook the earth itself. When the light faded, both women lay motionless among the dead, asterisk. And that, said a voice behind Maya, is why oracles can never be allowed to reach full power again. Asterisk. Maya spun around and found herself facing an older version of Robert, the same cold eyes, the same calculating expression. But this man wore the ceremonial robes of a pack elder, and his hands were stained with blood. Who are you? Asterisk. Robert Ironwood, council elder and keeper of pack histories. I was there the night Elena's sister nearly ended the werewolf world. I was there when the surviving alphas made the decision that no oracle would ever again be allowed to complete the awakening process. Asterisk. You killed them. Asterisk. We saved our people. Elena understood, in the end. She chose exile over execution, chose to let her bloodline go dormant rather than risk another war. Robert's ghostly form stepped closer. But bloodlines don't stay dormant forever. They always resurface. Which is why we've been watching your family for generations, waiting. Asterisk. My grandmother, asterisk, was getting too close to the truth. Too close to awakening. The car accident was regrettable but necessary. Robert smiled, and Maya saw the same cold calculation she'd seen in his descendant. Just as your death will be necessary now. Asterisk. Maya jerked back to the present, gasping. The vision had lasted only seconds, but she felt like she'd lived through years of history. Around her, the standoff in the cabin continued, but now she understood the true scope of what she was facing. You're all part of it, she said, her voice steady despite the horror churning in her stomach. The conspiracy against oracles. It's been going on for generations. Robert nodded slowly. My grandfather was Robert Ironwood, one of the council elders who ended the Oracle War. He taught me the truth about what your kind can become, what you did to our people the last time you were allowed to reach full power. And you've been waiting for another oracle to surface ever since. We've been protecting the werewolf world from another catastrophe, Sarah corrected. Maya, you seem like a good person, but you don't understand what you are. The power inside you, it's not just dangerous. It's apocalyptic. Maya felt another surge of ability, and suddenly she could see the threads of loyalty and obligation that connected everyone in the room. Sarah genuinely believed she was doing the right thing, protecting both Maya and the pack from a terrible fate. Jessica was following orders but had serious doubts. Robert was driven by generational hatred and fear. And Marcus? Marcus was still shielded, but Maya caught a glimpse of his true motivations. Ambition. A desire for power that had nothing to do with protecting anyone. He'd allied with Damon not out of fear of Oracle power, but because he wanted to control it himself. You're not doing this to protect anyone, Maya said, focusing on Marcus. You're doing this because you want to be alpha. You've been working with Damon to eliminate Kai and take over both territories. Clever girl. Marcus stepped fully into the cabin, and Maya saw that his eyes were glowing with that familiar golden light, but wrong somehow. Darker. Though you're only partially correct. I don't want to be alpha. I want to be something more. Something the werewolf world has never seen. Which is an alpha bonded to an oracle. The combination of werewolf physical power and lunar magic in one person. Marcus smiled, and Maya saw fangs that were longer and sharper than any werewolf should be. Damon promised to help me claim you, but I think I can manage on my own. Kai snarled and tried to stand, but he was still recovering from the wolfsbane poisoning. Marcus moved faster than Maya's eyes could follow, backhanding the weakened alpha and sending him crashing into the wall. Kai. Maya lunged toward him, but Jessica caught her arm. Don't, the younger woman warned. Maya, please. Let us help you. Let us end this before it gets worse. Maya looked into Jessica's eyes and saw genuine compassion there, genuine fear for what might happen if Oracle power fully awakened. But she also saw something else, a vision of possible futures spreading out like branches of a tree. In one future, she submitted to the pack's judgment. They killed her quickly and mercifully, and the werewolf world remained stable for another generation. In another, she fought back with Oracle power, won, but became exactly the kind of monster they feared, drunk on magical ability, ruling through fear and compulsion. In a third, she and Kai fled together, living as outcasts while Damon and Marcus carved up their territory between them. But there was a fourth path, harder to see but definitely there. A future where Oracle and Werewolf worked together as they were meant to, where lunar magic strengthened rather than threatened pack bonds. "I won't let you kill me out of fear," Maya said quietly. "And I won't become the monster you think I am." She reached deep inside herself, deeper than she'd gone when healing Kai, deeper than she'd ever imagined she could go. The power that answered her call was vast, ancient, connected to something larger than herself. The mark on her forehead blazed with silver light so bright that everyone in the room had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Maya stood transformed. She looked the same physically, but power radiated from her like heat from a forge. Her eyes glowed with soft silver fire, and when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that resonated in everyone's bones. "Oracle power doesn't have to be a weapon," she said, and the words carried absolute conviction. "It can be a bridge. A way to unite rather than divide." Maya gestured, and she felt the threads of pack loyalty that connected everyone in the room. Instead of trying to break them or twist them to her will, she strengthened them, clarified them, helped each person see the others more clearly. Sarah gasped as she felt Jessica's genuine doubt, Jessica's moral struggle with what they were being asked to do. Jessica started crying as she felt Sarah's maternal protectiveness, her desperate desire to save Maya from her own power. Robert faltered as he felt the weight of generational guilt, the knowledge that his family had been perpetuating a cycle of fear and violence for decades. Only Marcus remained unchanged, his mind still shielded. "Enough games," he snarled, and Maya felt dark magic building around him, not werewolf power, but something else. "Something wrong. If you won't come willingly, I'll take you by force." That's when Maya realized the truth. Marcus wasn't just working with Damon, he was working with something much darker. Something that wanted Oracle power not to control it, but to corrupt it. The pack was splitting apart around them. Half the werewolves who had burst into the cabin were lowering their weapons, backing away from Marcus as they realized the scope of his betrayal. The other half seemed caught in some kind of compulsion, their eyes glazing over as dark magic wrapped around their minds. "Kai," Maya called, extending her hand toward him. "I need you." Kai struggled to his feet, still weak but determined. When he took her hand, Maya felt their bond flare to life, not just the artificial connection of the marking, but something deeper. Something chosen rather than imposed. "Together?" he asked. "Together," Maya confirmed. And for the first time since this all began, Maya felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The real battle was just beginning. Chapter 7. The new moon hung invisible in the sky like a dark promise, and Maya could feel its absence in her bones. For 3 days, the northern pack had been preparing for siege. Weapons had been distributed, defensive positions established, children and non-combatants evacuated to the deep caves that honeycombed the mountains behind the compound. But Maya knew it wouldn't be enough. She stood at the window of the main lodge, watching pack members make final preparations in the courtyard below. Her reflection stared back at her, the same face she'd always known, but marked now with the crescent moon brand that pulsed with silver light. In the 3 days since her awakening, the mark had grown more intricate, spreading across her temple in delicate patterns that looked almost like script in some ancient language. "The runes are Gaelic," Kai said from behind her. He'd barely left her side since the confrontation with Marcus, as if afraid she might disappear if he looked away. "They're forming the words of the original oracle blessing." Maya touched the marks gently, feeling the power that hummed beneath her skin like electricity. "What does it say?" "Moon's daughter, silver blessed, bridge between world and shadow." It's from the creation myths. The story of how the first oracle was chosen by the moon goddess herself. And now it's written on my face like a tattoo. Maya turned away from the window. "Any word from the scouts?" Kai's expression darkened. "Damon's army is larger than we expected. At least 60 werewolves, maybe more. They're camped about 5 miles out, waiting for full dark. 60 against 37. Maya did the math quickly. The numbers weren't good, especially with several pack members having fled when Marcus's true allegiance became clear. We need to evacuate the rest of the civilians. There's nowhere for them to go. Damon's forces have the mountain passes blocked. Kai moved to stand beside her, and Maya felt their bond pulse with shared anxiety. Maya, there's something else. Sarah's been talking to some of the older pack members. She thinks. The lodge doors burst open, cutting off his words. Jessica stumbled inside, her clothes torn and bloody, her eyes wild with panic. They're coming, she gasped. Early. Damon's forces are already moving through the outer perimeter. Maya felt ice form in her stomach. How long do we have? Minutes, maybe less. And Maya. Jessica's voice broke. There's something else. The pack elders, Thomas, Margaret, William, they've disappeared. Their cabins are empty, their belongings gone. Kai went very still. When? We don't know. Sometime in the last few hours. Jessica wiped blood from a cut on her forehead. But that's not the worst part. The emergency supplies are gone too. The medical kit, the silver weapons, the wolfsbane antidotes. Everything we'd need to treat wounded in a prolonged fight. Maya felt the pieces clicking together with horrible clarity. They took them to Damon. The pack elders have been part of this from the beginning, Kai said quietly. Just like Marcus said. The anti-oracle conspiracy didn't end with the last generation. It evolved. Outside, a howl echoed across the compound, long, mournful, and definitely not from a northern pack throat. It was answered by another, then another, until the night filled with the sound of approaching enemies. Maya closed her eyes and reached out with her oracle senses, feeling for the approaching threat. What she found made her blood run cold. Not just 60 werewolves, but something else. Something that felt wrong, tainted, like the dark magic she'd sensed around Marcus. Kai, Damon isn't just bringing werewolves. There's something else with them. Something that shouldn't exist. Before Kai could respond, the window beside them exploded inward. Glass scattered across the floor as a massive gray wolf landed in the lodge's main room, shifting to human form even as it rolled to its feet. Damon Redclaw stood before them, his pale eyes gleaming with triumph. He was dressed for battle, leather and steel, with silver weapons gleaming at his belt. Behind him, more figures poured through the shattered window. Marcus, still bearing the cold smile Maya had learned to hate. 3 elderly werewolves she recognized as Thomas, Margaret, and William, pack elders who had been part of the northern pack for decades. Surprised? Damon asked conversationally. You shouldn't be. This has been planned for much longer than you realize. Thomas, Kai said, and Maya heard the pain in his voice. You've been like a father to me. The elderly werewolf had the grace to look uncomfortable. This isn't personal, Kai. You're a good alpha, but you don't understand the bigger picture. Oracle power cannot be allowed to fully awaken. Not again. Tell him about the prophecy, Margaret added, her weathered face hard with determination. Tell him what Elena Moonshadow really saw before she fled to the human world. Maya felt another vision building, but this one was different. Stronger. More immediate. She was standing in a moonlit clearing very similar to the one where she'd first been marked, but this scene was from nearly a century ago. Elena Moonshadow knelt in the center of a circle of pack elders, her silver hair flowing around her like liquid starlight. Her eyes were closed, her hands pressed flat against the earth, and power radiated from her invisible waves, asterisk. I see fire, Elena whispered, her voice echoing with prophetic authority. Fire that consumes the old world and births the new. The oracle bloodline will return when the werewolf world stands on the edge of extinction. The last daughter will choose, salvation or destruction, unity or chaos. Asterisk. What does she choose? One of the elders asked, asterisk. Elena's eyes snapped open, blazing with silver light. That depends on whether she finds love or only fear waiting for her when she awakens. Asterisk. Maya jerked back to the present, understanding flooding through her. The pack elders hadn't been trying to prevent Oracle power from awakening, they'd been trying to ensure she would choose destruction when it did. You wanted me to be afraid, she said, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. All of it, the lies, the manipulation, the betrayals. You wanted me to awaken in anger and fear so I'd become the monster from Elena's prophecy. Very good, William said approvingly. Elena saw two possible futures. In one, the Oracle daughter awakens surrounded by love and support, becomes a bridge between human and werewolf worlds, ushers in an age of peace and prosperity. In the other, she awakens to betrayal and violence, and burns the werewolf world to ash. Damon finished. Which future do you think we preferred? Maya stared at him in horror. You want me to destroy everything. We want the old world to end so the new one can begin, Marcus said. A world where werewolves don't have to hide, don't have to pretend to be human, don't have to bow to inferior species. Your power, properly channeled, can make that happen. Maya felt her oracle abilities surging in response to her emotions, power building like a storm inside her chest. Around the room, furniture began to shake. The remaining windows cracked. The very air seemed to thicken with magical energy. Maya, Kai said urgently, you need to stay calm. Don't let them provoke you. But that's exactly what we want, Damon said with a cold smile. Maya, look outside. Look at what surrounds your precious pack. Maya turned toward the broken window and felt her heart stop. The compound was surrounded by werewolves in battle form, massive, snarling creatures with eyes that reflected the torchlight. But interspersed among them were other shapes, wrong shapes, things that looked like wolves but moved with an unnatural fluidity that made her skin crawl. What are those? She whispered. Corrupted ones, Thomas said, his voice heavy with fake regret. Werewolves who have been enhanced by dark magic. They feel no pain, no fear, no mercy. They'll tear apart everyone you care about unless you give us what we want. Maya felt her power spike again, and this time she couldn't contain it. Silver light blazed from her skin, from her eyes, from the marks on her forehead. The wooden floor beneath her feet began to smoke. That's it, Damon whispered. Let the anger take you. Let it build. Maya, no. Kai stepped between her and the enemies, his hands raised in a calming gesture. Remember what you told me about Oracle power being a bridge, not a weapon. Remember. His words were cut off as something massive crashed through the lodge's front doors. One of the corrupted werewolves, if it could still be called that, stood in the doorway. It was huge, easily twice the size of a normal werewolf, with black veins visible under its gray fur and eyes that glowed with sickly green light. It looked directly at Maya and spoke in a voice like grinding stone, Oracle. Come. That's when Maya's transformation began. She'd expected it to hurt, based on everything she'd been told about werewolf shifting. Instead, it felt like coming home. Power flowed through her body, reshaping muscle and bone with liquid grace. Her senses exploded outward. She could smell the fierce sweat on her enemies, could hear the heartbeats of pack members hiding throughout the compound, could feel the pulse of life in every living thing for miles around. When the shift completed, Maya looked down at herself and gasped. She wasn't a normal werewolf. Her fur was pure silver, so bright it seemed to glow with its own inner light. The oracle markings from her forehead had spread across her lupin features in delicate script patterns. And she was large, not as massive as the corrupted creatures, but definitely bigger than any normal werewolf she'd seen. More importantly, her power had stabilized. The dangerous surge that had been building was now controlled, channeled through her new form in ways that felt natural and right. Impossible, Margaret breathed. Oracle werewolves are extinct. They died out with the old bloodlines. Apparently not, Maya said, surprised to find she could still speak in wolf form. Her voice resonated with harmonics that made the corrupted creature in the doorway whimper and back away. Damon's pale eyes blazed with hunger. Even better. Marcus, take her. Now, while she's still learning to control the new form. Marcus lunged forward, his own shift beginning. But Kai intercepted him, the two werewolves colliding in a tangle of claws and fangs. Around them, chaos erupted as more corrupted creatures poured into the lodge. Maya tried to help Kai, but her new form was too powerful, too unpredictable. When she swiped at one of the corrupted werewolves threatening him, silver light blazed from her claws and the creature simply dissolved. Not killed, completely unmade, as if it had never existed. The display of power sent shockwaves through both friend and foe. Maya saw pack members staring at her in terror, saw enemies backing away with expressions of awe and fear. She was becoming exactly what they all expected, a monster too powerful to control. Maya. Kai's voice cut through her spiral of panic. He was bleeding from multiple wounds, but his golden eyes were steady and sure. I know what we have to do. What? Complete the mate bond. Fully. Right now. Maya felt ice form in her stomach. Kai, if we do that while I'm like this, while my power is unstable. I know. It could kill us both. Kai fought his way toward her, dispatching enemies with ruthless efficiency. But it's the only way to anchor your abilities. The only way to make sure you choose love over fear. Around them, the battle raged. Maya could see pack members falling to the corrupted creatures, could smell blood and fear thick in the air. Her power was building again, responding to the violence and chaos, and she could feel herself losing control. In minutes, maybe seconds, her oracle abilities would surge beyond her control. Everyone in the compound, friend and foe alike, would be caught in the blast. She would become the destroyer from Elena's prophecy, the oracle who burned the world. Unless she trusted Kai completely. Unless she let him anchor her to love instead of fear. How do we complete the bond? She asked. Kai reached her side and placed his hand over her heart, where the silver fur was brightest. The old way. Blood, breath, and soul given freely. Maya looked into his eyes and saw everything she needed to know. Whatever his original motivations had been, whatever mistakes he'd made, his feelings for her now were real. The bond between them had grown beyond political necessity into something chosen, something worth risking everything for. Together? She asked. Together, Kai confirmed. Maya placed her clawed hand over his heart, feeling his pulse beneath her palm. Around them, enemies closed in, corrupted creatures and conspirators alike sensing that this was their moment to strike. I trust you, Maya whispered. And as Damon Redclaw lunged toward them with a silver blade raised, as Marcus broke free from the pack members trying to restrain him, as the corrupted werewolves howled with inhuman voices, Maya and Kai began the ritual that would either save them both or destroy them together. The final choice was about to be made. Chapter 8. The world slowed to a crystalline moment of perfect clarity as Maya and Kai began the ancient ritual. Despite the chaos raging around them, the snarls of corrupted werewolves, the clash of weapons, the screams of the wounded, Maya felt a profound stillness settle over her spirit. Blood given freely, Kai whispered, drawing a silver claw across his palm. Crimson welled up, bright against his tanned skin. Maya mirrored the motion, her larger claws easily opening a line across her silver-furred paw. Their blood was different colors, his the deep red of human life, hers shimmering with veins of liquid starlight. Blood given freely, she echoed. They pressed their wounded hands together, and Maya felt their life forces begin to intertwine. The sensation was unlike anything she'd experienced, not just physical, but something deeper, more fundamental. She could feel Kai's soul brushing against hers, could sense his memories, his fears, his fierce protective love for his pack and for her. Breath shared willingly, Kai continued, leaning closer. Their enemies were closing in. Maya could see Damon raising his silver blade, could see Marcus gathering dark magic around himself like a cloak of shadows, could hear the inhuman howls of the corrupted creatures as they prepared to strike. But none of it mattered. There was only this moment, only the ancient words that would bind them together or destroy them both. Maya breathed out as Kai breathed in, sharing the air between them. With that shared breath came something deeper, the essence of who they were, what they hoped for, what they were willing to sacrifice for each other. Soul bonded eternally, they said together. The power hit Maya like a tidal wave, but this time it didn't feel dangerous or uncontrolled. Instead, it felt like coming home. Kai's strength flowed into her, grounding her oracle abilities, while her lunar magic poured into him, enhancing his alpha power beyond anything he'd ever experienced. The silver light that blazed from their joined hands illuminated the entire lodge. Maya felt her awareness expand exponentially, not just of the battle around them, but of connections stretching across the continent like a vast web of corruption. She could see it all now. The moon's shadow. Oh my God, Maya breathed, her enhanced perception revealing the true scope of what they faced. Kai, it's not just our territory. It's everywhere. The organization that had been systematically eliminating Oracle bloodlines wasn't a handful of frightened pack elders. It was a massive network spanning decades and continents, with members in every major pack, connections reaching into human governments, resources that dwarfed anything Maya had imagined. She could see their methods, the careful tracking of bloodlines, the staged accidents, the manipulated matings designed to dilute Oracle genes until they disappeared entirely. She could see the list of families they'd eliminated over the past century, the potential oracles who had died never knowing what they were. And she could see their ultimate goal, complete werewolf domination over the human world, with the moon's shadow controlling everything from behind the scenes. Elena's prophecy, Maya whispered, understanding flooding through her. They didn't want me to choose destruction because they feared it. They wanted me to choose it because it would clear the way for their own plans. Damon's blade was inches from Kai's throat when Maya's stabilized power erupted outward. But this wasn't the wild, uncontrolled surge from before. This was precise, targeted, surgical in its application. Silver light wrapped around each enemy in the room, and Maya could feel their intentions, their loyalties, their deepest fears laid bare. The corrupted werewolf simply ceased to exist, unmade by power that recognized them as abominations against nature. Marcus screamed as dark magic was torn from his body, leaving him human and defenseless. The pack elders found themselves frozen in place, unable to move as oracle power held them immobile. Damon, however, was different. Stronger. The silver light wrapped around him but couldn't penetrate whatever protections he carried. Impressive, he said, his pale eyes gleaming with something like approval. But you're still thinking too small, Maya. You see the conspiracy, but you don't understand its true purpose. Enlighten me, Maya snarled, her silver wolf form radiating power. The moon's shadow isn't trying to control werewolves, Damon said, circling them slowly. We're trying to save them. Humanity is on the verge of technological advances that will make hiding impossible. Satellite surveillance, genetic analysis, DNA databases. Within 50 years, there will be nowhere left to hide. Maya felt Kai's shock through their bond. This wasn't what they'd expected. So you eliminate Oracle bloodlines because we might oppose you? We eliminate Oracle bloodlines because you represent the old way. The way of hiding, of coexistence, of pretending to be something you're not. Damon's voice took on an edge of fanatical conviction. But oracles who choose destruction, oracles who burn the old world, they clear the way for honesty. For a world where werewolves rule openly, as we were meant to. Maya saw the twisted logic of it and felt sick. They hadn't been trying to prevent Elena's prophecy, they'd been trying to fulfill the destructive version of it. You're insane, Kai growled. I'm practical. Damon raised his blade again. And Maya, my dear Oracle, you've just made yourself the most wanted individual in North America. Every moon's shadow operative, every corrupted pack leader, every werewolf who dreams of the old days will be hunting you now. Maya felt her power building again, but this time it was controlled, focused. She could end this right now. Unmake Damon just as she had the corrupted creatures, eliminate the immediate threat. But she could also see the consequences of that choice rippling out through her enhanced vision. Killing Damon would make her a target for every moon's shadow operative on the continent. It would start a war that would consume the werewolf world and spill over into the human one. There had to be another way. Maya reached deeper into her oracle abilities, looking not just at what was, but at what could be. She saw threads of possibility stretching into the future, some dark, some bright, most a complex mixture of both. I choose differently, she said quietly. Instead of destroying Damon, Maya wrapped him in silver light and showed him what she could see. The network of Moon's shadow operatives, yes, but also something else. Other Oracle descendants who had survived, hidden in human communities, living ordinary lives while carrying extraordinary potential. She showed him a future where those oracles awakened not to fear and betrayal, but to support and training. Where Oracle and Werewolf worked together as they had in the ancient days, before fear and politics had driven them apart. She showed him strength through unity instead of dominance through destruction. Damon staggered under the weight of the vision, his pale eyes wide with something like wonder. For a moment, Maya thought she had reached him. Then his expression hardened again. "Pretty dreams," he said. "But dreams don't change reality. The Moon's shadow has been planning this for over a century. We won't be stopped by one awakened Oracle and her mate." He raised his blade one final time, and Marcus, forgotten in their focus on Damon, struck from behind with a shard of broken window glass. Maya felt the silver cut deep into her flank, felt poison burning in the wound. Not wolfsbane this time, but something worse. Something designed specifically to kill oracles. She collapsed, her silver wolf form flickering as the toxin spread through her system. Through their bond, she felt Kai's anguish, his desperate rage as he tore Marcus apart with his bare hands. But it was too late. Maya could feel her life ebbing away, could feel the oracle power that had awakened so recently beginning to fade. "Maya." Kai knelt beside her, his hands glowing with the alpha power that their bond had enhanced. "Hold on. I can heal this. I can." "No," Maya whispered, understanding flooding through her even as darkness crept in at the edges of her vision. "The poison, it's not meant to kill me quickly. It's meant to force a choice." She could feel it now. The toxin was designed to shut down her human consciousness while leaving her oracle power intact. If she fought it, she would die. But if she let go, if she surrendered her human identity completely, she would become pure oracle, immortal, infinitely powerful, and utterly inhuman. The final test. The ultimate choice between love and power. Maya looked into Kai's golden eyes and saw everything she needed to know. Whatever happened next, she wouldn't face it alone. Together, she asked, using the last of her strength to reach for their bond. "Always," Kai promised. Maya let go of her human form, let go of her fears and limitations, let herself become everything the Oracle bloodline had always been meant to be. But instead of losing herself in that vast power, she held tight to the bond that connected her to Kai, to the pack, to everyone she had chosen to love. The transformation was spectacular. Silver light filled the lodge, spilled out into the compound, spread across the valley like liquid moonfire. Every werewolf for miles felt it, a presence both ancient and new, power that could destroy or create depending on the will that guided it. When the light faded, Maya stood in human form once again, but changed. Her hair was silver now, her eyes held depths that spoke of cosmic understanding, and when she moved, reality seemed to bend slightly around her. But she was still Maya. Still the woman who had counted her last dollar and chosen to trust in something greater than herself. Damon stared at her in awe and terror. "What are you?" "I'm the oracle you helped create," Maya said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated in dimensions beyond the physical. "I'm the bridge you tried to burn. And I'm the future you never imagined." She gestured, and Damon found himself held in place by silver light. But instead of destroying him, Maya began to show him other visions. Not the future she wanted, but the future his choices had made inevitable. A world where werewolves ruled through fear, where humanity lived in constant terror, where the moon's shadow's victory led not to paradise but to endless war. She showed him the corruption that absolute power bred, the way dominance without balance always consumed itself. And then she showed him the alternative. Oracle and werewolf as partners, not rulers. Strength used to protect rather than dominate. A future where both races could thrive without destroying each other. "Choose," Maya said simply. Damon looked around the ruined lodge, at the pack members who were slowly emerging from hiding, at Kai standing protective and proud beside his transformed mate. Maya could see the moment when understanding finally broke through his fanaticism. "The moon's shadow will never stop," he said quietly. "There are too many of us, too much invested in the old plan. Even if I stand down, others will take my place." "I know." Maya's smile was sad but determined. "That's why this is just the beginning." Over the following weeks, as Maya and Kai worked to rebuild their pack and prepare for the larger conflict ahead, the extent of the moon's shadow conspiracy became clear. They had operatives in dozens of packs, connections reaching into every level of werewolf society, resources that had been accumulating for generations. But Maya's awakening had changed the game. Her oracle abilities allowed her to see the network, to identify the conspirators, to reach out to other oracle descendants who had been hiding in plain sight. The first response came from a woman named Catherine Nightwhisper in Oregon, who had been experiencing strange dreams since Maya's transformation. The second from a man in Quebec who had always been able to predict pack politics with uncanny accuracy. The third from a teenager in Texas whose grandmother had told her stories about moon magic that she'd always assumed were fantasies. They were gathering. The oracle bloodlines that the moon's shadow had tried so hard to eliminate were awakening, drawn by the call of their sister's power. Maya stood in the rebuilt lodge, reading the latest message from a potential oracle in Colorado, while Kai reviewed intelligence reports about moon's shadow activity across the continent. "How many now?" Kai asked, looking up from his papers. 17 confirmed, maybe 30 more possibilities." Maya set down the letter and moved to the window, looking out at the compound where pack life continued despite the shadow of the larger conflict ahead. "It's not going to be enough, is it?" "Maybe. Maybe not." Kai joined her at the window, his arms slipping around her waist in a gesture that had become as natural as breathing. "But it's more than they expected. More than they planned for." Maya leaned into his warmth, drawing comfort from their bond. In the weeks since their mating, she had discovered that being oracle didn't mean being alone. If anything, it meant being more connected, to Kai, to the pack, to the network of awakening oracles, to the very fabric of the supernatural world. Luna, one of the pack members, called from the courtyard. It still felt strange to hear that title, but Maya was learning to embrace it. Luna and oracle, mate and magical guardian, bridge between what was and what could be. She had chosen love over fear, unity over destruction, hope over despair. Now she would have to fight to protect that choice, not just for herself and Kai, but for every oracle descendant who had yet to awaken, every werewolf who dreamed of a better future, every human who would be caught in the crossfire if the moon's shadow succeeded. The real war was just beginning. But for the first time since this all started, Maya felt ready for it. She was no longer the desperate woman counting her last dollar. She was the oracle the world needed, the Luna her pack deserved, the mate Kai had chosen to stand beside through whatever came next. And whatever came next, they would face it together. Outside, the full moon rose silver and bright, and Maya felt her power sing in harmony with its ancient light. Somewhere out there, other oracles were awakening to that same call, other mates were discovering the bonds that could anchor cosmic power to earthly love. The moon's shadow had tried to eliminate the oracle bloodlines. Instead, they had ensured their return. Maya smiled and began planning for tomorrow's challenges, secure in the knowledge that she was exactly where she was supposed to be, exactly who she was meant to become. The oracle had awakened. And the world would never be the same. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share and subscribe to this channel for more.